think she'll be a little late. I think you'll just have to talk to her when she gets here.
Okay, well, okay, I'm going to start this little news conference, and I appreciate all of you for coming. This is in regards to, there was a request made by the mayor to do it's not a legislative audit, but it's an investigative report. And what it is, it's a review of selected transactions, and in no way does this represent anything according to generally accepted accounting principles that really is set forth by the Governmental Accounting and Standards Board. This is just a review of selected transactions. I'll just, there's no question about the fact that I'm very proud of what we've accomplished in Texarkana. And when I became the city manager in 2007, the number one objective was economic development. And the city created Crossroads Business Park. Most people still don't understand how big it is. It's 728 acres. And we've got about half of it zoned for our commercial development right now, and some mixed-use development. But why do we do this? We did this because economic development was the only way Texarkana, Arkansas was going to survive. Most of the business development is on the Texas side. And we started this process, and there was not one bit of question about it. It was, well, number one and number two things on our master plan for the city. But part of our problem as a city government is that 85% of our resources go to 85% of our budget, 85% of our budget is consumed by public safety. And so if we're going to do anything meaningful, say streetwise, it's going to be tough to do without added income. And so since then, since we started this process, we've experienced pretty significant growth. It's at a standstill right now, and I think y'all know the reasons for it. But the thing about the growth we've had, it's so significant that it's the first significant movement that we've had since Cooper Tire came to town over 40 years ago. And that's how significant it is right now. And we've got 5 new hotels out there and a couple of restaurants. Actually, the impact is much more than that because it extends across the interstate. So we've really got 4 significant restaurants, including what's inside the Hotel Convention Center. And about $60 million in investment thus far, about 700 jobs, and A&P taxes is increased about $400,000, which is good for us because that's how we support these economic development projects. Another thing is, of course, there's a return on sales taxes. And that's about 1.6 million. Not all that comes to us. Most of it goes to the state itself. Some go to the county. But the 2 major projects that we generally give incentives for clearly would be something like the water park and the hotel combines convention center. And that's exactly where we put our money. And the thing that gets lost in all this is that both Arkansas Economic Development Commission as well as the Parks and Tourism statewide commission are all behind this project. In fact, there's millions of dollars in tax credits that helped this project become successful. And Governor Beebe himself is one that has been behind this project all along. At 2 times in the development of this project, he has provided ample support through letters and support for us down here. And that's one of the main goals of the state, tourism and development. So after meeting with the legislative committee, reviewing the results, we feel there's actually several issues that need to be addressed. And I said before that they come in and they do have findings, but until I would say today, I think it would be even further back, wouldn't it? Today, we finally provided what I call the detail behind their findings, and that is not posted online. We requested it be done. All they would do is the letter, which you're going to get through this process today. But we feel like that we've got to address these issues, and the response to these issues, I think, will shed a lot of light on their findings. But the one thing that I want to say, and it comes right out of the report, one thing that's clear in these findings is that they indicated, not me, that I personally did not benefit from any of these transactions that are involved, all of which were approved by the Board of Directors and the A&P Commission. Those are the 2 entities that approved everything that I put together for them. So again, you know, I didn't personally benefit. That's their words, it's not mine. The first thing I'm going to take, I call it issue 1, and I'll just sort of put this up where you can sort of see what we're doing. This is issue 1, monitoring the use of A&P funds. That's one of their talking points, I guess. But down here you see attachment A. Well, attachment A, we did that for a reason, because when they told us all they were going to do is publish my letter and not the detail, then we decided that we're going to have those there so people know there's attachments that you don't see. So every one of the attachments is right here, and we'll have a copy for you out there. This is all the detailed explanations, backup and stuff that we have provided to this legislative investigative group. First thing they talk about is an incentive package for the private investor of the convention center and water park. Now, and the issue is remitting back private investor A&P taxes collected. Like Dr. Patel in the hotel has a restaurant, and that generates A&P taxes, and that's about the only thing there. And the hotel generates the hotel tax. So those come back at the end of each month when he collects them. What'll happen is that he will send them to us. What we will do is we will put them in our records, and then next month we will return them to him. Now, he can't just spend them on anything he wants. What he will do, and this is one of their points on that point, the monitoring and the use of A&P funds, the audit letter basically that was drafted said we needed some sort of monitoring on this. And what he will do is, once he submits an annual report to us, he's got to give us a report back probably at the end of the year. I think that's how we would look at it. And at the end of the year, he has to spend it, and he only spend it on things that are operation and maintenance. And you don't have that other thing I had, do you? Oh, yeah. But, so, at the time, I mean, you know, the staff doesn't have everything necessarily because we got so much paperwork on this. But I addressed that in what was called the Heads of Agreement back in June 8th, 2011, where we get into discussing the things that he has to follow on these particular types of reimbursements of A&P money generated from his operations. He clearly has to put it back into operations and maintenance. So this has been on the books for years in terms of my letter and I guess my oversight into this process. But at the time the auditors were here looking, they just, I guess, overlooked that. We haven't reimbursed any of those A&P taxes he's collected right now. And either on the convention center or water park.
We've done the ones on the convention center, not the water.
Yeah, we've done it on the convention center. But anyway, so that's what that is. That to me is something we had already dealt with. Real estate transactions. I don't know how many of you were here when we started this process, but it started back in 2004 when Mayor Shipp was on board, and Mayor Shipp was a pretty big cheerleader for the city, and he desperately wanted to see economic development happen. And so we had several things. I don't know if any of you remember, but the Minton Sportsplex, you know, was something that was going to be done over here. And there was a potential for an arena, and at one point we were even thinking an ice skating rink, you know, for that hockey team that used to be out at Fort States Fair. Well, Mike Minton backed out of it. So we were saying, okay, who's going to be our next partner? Well, our next partner really was Jack Daugherty, who walked away from our incentive package. It wasn't good enough. And I'm not faulting Jack, but we were going to build a Hilton Garden Inn out there at that location. But and there's no sour grapes with me about that. Jack had to do what he had to do. And but he did put another hotel out there, which we're grateful for. But when he walked away, the statement in the press was by me, well, we're going to go find another partner. And that's finally what we did, but it took maybe 2 years for us to get to a point where we even could get to a heads of agreement on this deal. And once we got there, then we took it to the board and they approved it. But the city, you know, there's discussion by some people that the price of the land was too high, and you know, they cited what we paid versus what the investor paid. Well, the investor paid 51 cents a foot, and we paid more than that, obviously more than that. But both deals were done independent of one another, and Avon Williamson is the landowner out there, and in what I discovered later on that was that the landowner was willing to give the investor of the Hotel Convention Center anything coming in there, and it makes perfect sense. A much better deal. In fact, if I were going to do the deal and I was the landowner, I'd give it to him for nothing, because that's exactly what they do on the Texas side. That's how Jay Reynolds, who is a very good commercial realtor, has been able to put in development on the Texas side. So, anyway, I discovered from the landowner that the reason he did that was to upstart the development. And we always felt that's what was gonna happen. What we were trying to do is get a upscale restaurant in there at the time. And how were we gonna do it? We needed it if we were gonna put in a hotel convention center. And in the very beginning, you know, what ultimately happened is the Copelands went in first. And then finally, you know, the project for Dr. Patel went through. But we maintain that we've never done anything wrong or had anything to do with the agreement reached by the developer. Now, I would say that from time to time, when things are stalled in economic development, you want to take the landowner and shoot them, you know, because we're trying to put stuff out on land, and of course they're trying to get the best price they can get. But again, Avon Williamson, in order to jumpstart the whole development, gave Dr. Patel a very good deal.